Very bold statement, very hot take, if you will. And while it may seem impossible, I do ask that you keep an open mind throughout this presentation for the next hour. I do want to give a disclaimer that this presentation is not to substitute medical diagnosis or treatment, but it is another way for us to think about our pain and how our pain makes us feel emotionally and mentally. So if you've tried everything, but nothing seems to be working, this might be for you. So we will get into it. My backstory, pun is intended here. So I'll talk a little bit about my history, and I do want to ask you to consider these next few conditions and maybe think about what they all have in common. So shingles, gout, tension headaches, sciatica with an extra star, because that's what we're going to be focusing a little bit more on today. But you can probably tell that most of these conditions are very common in people over the age of 40. All can be linked to stress, and all are conditions that I have been diagnosed with. This is me in the emergency room, actually in my second bout of sciatica, which we will talk about a little later. So I've struggled with it, 2 occurrences, first of which was in 2020. And I'm sure we all can think about a very stressful time or event that happened in 2020. So I linked this injury, this sciatica, to a physical event. I was working out and I was doing a single leg press. So I swore off that exercise. I told everybody not to do that. That's how I herniated my disc. And at first I didn't really feel that sciatic pain. I thought I had some sort of hamstring strain. But over the course of the days and the weeks, this pain just progressed and it was shooting down my leg. I was hunched over. I couldn't stand up straight. It was hard to walk, stand, pretty much anything but lay flat on my back. So be it to say, I was very frustrated and angry. I tried everything from physical therapy to massage therapy, acupuncture, chiropractor. I was prescribed oral steroids. I received 5 epidural injections within the course of a year and a half, which I know is way past the limit, but my doctor gave it to me because I was in so much pain. And it became very common knowledge. It was 2 long years from 2020 to 2022 where this pain just persisted and didn't get any better. So all of my friends and family, my colleagues, they all knew me as the sciatica guy with the bad back. Until finally, one of the other aqua aerobics instructors, Hillary, she also coaches the swim team with me and teaches swim lessons down at the pool here. She introduced me to Dr. Sarno and asked me if I ever read the book Healing Back Pain. You'd think it'd be very obvious for me to pick up that book, but I actually have never heard of it. And so once I started looking up Dr. Sarno's concepts and his philosophies and started to read through his 12 daily reminders and even thumb through the Healing Back Pain book, I was honestly quite surprised by how much I connected and recognized myself word after word. Even though this book was published years before I was born, I was still able to see myself in the stories that he shared in the book. And it really changed the way that I thought about my pain. So a little bit more about Dr. Sarno, since some of the concepts we'll be focusing on are what he has come up with. So he is a professor and a physician who popularized the psychosomatic, so dealing with the brain and the body, the psychosomatic concept of tension myoneural syndrome, or TMS for short, which highlights the connection between the mind and the body in chronic pain, specifically back pain. And while his philosophies were not widely accepted by the mainstream Western medical community, a lot of these concepts date back thousands of years in traditional Eastern medical practices, where they believe that the mind, body, and spirit are one. So let's talk a little bit more about TMS, tension myoneural syndrome. Okay, so let's talk and break it down a little bit. So tension, it refers to how stress can create a physical strain in the body, where your body gets tensed up. I'm sure we've all experienced this. I was experiencing it a little bit earlier when I was thinking about this presentation, where the shoulders get tense. All right, so I always have to remind myself, shoulders down and back, take a deep breath, right? Myo, it refers to the muscle involvement, so how that tension affects our muscular system, leading to that tightness and pain in the muscles. Neural, it refers to how the nervous system transmits pain signals throughout the body, and how it also regulates the body's stress response. And syndrome, it's a collection of symptoms, not just a single disease, which is important to note here because TMS can manifest itself in many ways beyond back pain, including headaches, GI issues, other chronic pain conditions, like I mentioned earlier, shingles, gout, right? Things that are not very common in 20, 30-year-olds. So the key takeaway is TMS is a mind-body response, not a structural issue. So let's talk a little bit more about how TMS works. Okay, so TMS has to do with the autonomic nervous system. Okay, that system is what controls the body's involuntary functions like your heartbeat, your breathing rate, your blood flow and circulation to muscles, joints, tendons. Okay, and when we feel threatened or in danger, the autonomic nervous system triggers that fight or flight response. I'm sure we've all heard of that. I think they've added freeze now as a new one, fight, flight, or freeze. Right, and that's where the brain unconsciously restricts oxygen and blood flow to muscles, nerves, tendons as a defense mechanism, right, to prepare the body to fight or flee or freeze now. And when we repress emotions like anger and anxiety, that also triggers that autonomic nervous system, that fight or flight response, okay, as a defense mechanism against repressed, unpleasant emotions. Okay, that's what this picture kind of depicts. Right? So pain here is being used as a distraction from the difficult emotions, a distraction to avoid processing or confronting some of those repressed emotions, where we unconsciously do. So the key point here is the pain, while the pain is very real, the cause is emotional. So let's talk about some common traits in typical TMS sufferers, people that have TMS. Okay, and try to think of a time where you felt these traits, and see if you can link that to possibly pain or some sort of injury you may have had in the past or currently. So anxiousness, I'm sure we've all felt. High self-pressure, self-esteem, or self-criticism. Perfectionism, people-pleasing. Right? We can all think of a time where we felt these things. And because of the unpleasant, painful, and even embarrassing nature of these traits, these feelings, and the anxiety that they generate, our mind feels the need to keep them out of consciousness or repress them. So again, here is that diagram or that picture, which is taken straight from the Healing Back Pain book. This is just a picture that I took of it. So here it clearly depicts our unpleasant emotions here, but that pain syndrome, that TMS, is front and center, all right, taking up all of our attention. Okay, so now we can kind of visualize what's happening in the mind when this happens, when we have TMS. So let's talk about the years of responsibility, or AKA for me, this is when TMS strikes back, okay? So by a show of hands, who's between the ages of 30 and 60 years old? Okay, good amount of us here. All right, so that's the time period in our life where Dr. John Sarno coined the years of responsibility. Very straightforward, right? I haven't gotten there yet. Um, but 77% of TMS patients were between that age of 30 and 60, right? Where I'm sure we all can relate, where we feel that most pressure to succeed, to provide, to excel, where life gets real, okay? So this, I think, is a kind of good diagram of what I'm feeling currently right now, okay? This is when I truly experienced the effectiveness of these concepts. So 20 to 2022, right? That's when I first experienced the sciatica. But from 2022 to 2024, I felt great. I was not taking any medication. I didn't think about my back at all. I was running, jumping, lifting heavy weights, right? But as soon as 2024 started to creep up, something happened the spring of 2024 where I woke up and I felt that same pain that I felt in 2020. I was devastated. I was like, oh no, here we go again. And coincidentally, 2024 is also the year where my wife and I got married, right here in this room, actually, I was standing right here, which is pretty crazy to think about. I'm kind of having some flashbacks. But yeah, so of course, planning a wedding, let's think back at those common traits, right? Anxiousness, high self-pressure, self-criticism, perfectionism, people-pleasing. This is all traits of people planning a wedding. So the second bout of sciatica, right? Wedding, I'm expecting a baby. It's due next Friday. So be it to say, I am feeling a little stressed and anxious. All right, work, responsibilities pile up. This is just a funny meme that I found. But this second time around, I was equipped with this knowledge of TMS. I have developed techniques that first time when I had sciatica. So doing a body scan meditation for pain, being able to confront that pain without any judgment, right? Being able to process those emotions without any judgment. I kept a pain journal. Well, I keep a journal usually, but shout out to Loy. She suggested that before every entry, I just rate my pain that day, right? I just rate my pain, and it felt a little silly, a little arbitrary at first, but over the course, I try to journal every day if I can. But over the course of some time, some months, you start to see a correlation, right? Whenever that pain rating was up high, you'll read the entry, and I was just really stressed out that time. There's a bunch of things happening. And those moments where the pain scale goes a little bit lower, things may have felt a little bit easier, where things, I had some reprieve, right? So there is a connection there. And this flare-up, it only lasted for 2 months, right? The first flare-up lasted 2 long years. But this first time, or the second time, I should say, it lasted 2 months. It happened in March, and then our wedding was in May. By May, I still was feeling a little, but maybe I didn't think the pain away. I was more drinking the pain away that day. I'm sure we've all experienced something like that. All that to say, I was able to break that pain cycle a lot sooner, just with the knowledge of TMS and with those tools and resources that I've developed. All right, so let's talk about the pain cycle, specifically in the tension myoneural syndrome. All right, so we have our negative emotions. The negative emotions will lead to that muscle tension, right? Tensing up, which then leads to oxygen deprivation of the muscles. Correct.
You were exercising during that time, right? During those 2 months.
Yes, I was. I was training. I was still moving carefully, but I was still moving. Yes, and so that pain again leads to negative emotions, and this cycle continues, and we may get trapped in this cycle sometimes, and that's how I felt that first round of sciatica, 2020 to 2022. Right, so pain again equals a distraction from repressed emotions, specifically the negative ones. And fear and misdiagnosis just reinforces this cycle. And we get trapped, like I said, right? We guard our muscles for fear of from fear of hurting them more. We decrease our activity levels, right? And from that, our range of motion is decreased. All of these things perpetuate this cycle. So how do we break away? Breaking the pain cycle. So with TMS, the treatment rests on two pillars. Okay, the acquisition of knowledge and insight to the nature of TMS. Number two, the ability to act on that knowledge and change the brain's behavior. In other words, retraining the brain. We do this through self-awareness, shifting our beliefs about pain, that's the next one, emotional processing, all right? And this is possible because of neuroplasticity. I'm sure we've all heard this term before, right? The brain's ability to adapt, to change throughout your entire life. So when we address and process those repressed emotions, we really can rewire our brains and really start to think the pain away. So now we're going to do this activity. I'm going to lead us into a short guided meditation. This is exactly the body scan meditation that I would do whenever I was feeling pain. Okay, so let me make sure I have our meditation music just to get in the mood. All right, but start by getting comfortable in your seat. Okay, you can do this meditation with the eyes closed or the eyes open. I do have this little graphic here I'm sure we've all seen, but you can use this to coordinate with the breath. Okay, so the purpose of this activity is to observe our pain without fear, without judgment. And we can contemplate what emotions might be connected to these feelings. So let's all get comfortable. We'll sit in our chair, allow your back to be straight but not stiff, your feet on the ground, your hands could be resting gently on your lap or on your thighs. Allow your eyes to close or remain open with a soft gaze again. Let's take some slow, long, deep breaths. Breathing in fully, exhaling slowly. Feel the stomach expand on the inhale and relax and let go as you exhale. Let go of the noises around you and begin to shift your attention from the outside to inside the body. If you're distracted by sounds in the room, simply notice them and then bring your focus back to your breathing. Now slowly bring your attention down to your feet, beginning to observe the sensations in your feet. You can wiggle your toes around, feeling your toes against your socks or shoes. And just notice without judgment that feeling. Imagine sending your breath down to your feet as if the breath is traveling through the nose to the lungs and through the body, all the way down to your feet, and then back up again through your nose and lungs. Just allow yourself to feel the sensation. When you're ready, allow your feet to dissolve in your mind's eye and move your attention upwards to your ankles, calves, knees, thighs. Observe the sensations you are experiencing throughout your legs, breathing into and out of the legs now. If your mind begins to wander during this exercise, gently notice this without any judgment. Bring your mind back to noticing the sensation in your legs. If you notice any discomfort, pain, or stiffness, do not judge this. Just simply notice it and observe. Observe how all the sensations rise and fall, shift and change moment to moment. Notice how no sensation is permanent. Just observe and allow the sensations to be in this moment, just as they are. Breathe in, out. Now let the legs dissolve in your mind and move the sensations up to your lower back and pelvis, softening and releasing as you breathe in and out. Slowly moving our attention now up to the middle of the back, upper back. Becoming curious about the sensations here. You may become aware of the sensations in the muscle. points of contact with the chair. With each out breath, you may let go of any tension you are carrying. Now very gently shift your focus to your stomach, all of our internal organs here. Notice the feeling of your clothing, perhaps the process of digestion or the belly rising and falling with each breath. As you continue to breathe, bring your awareness to the chest and heart region and just notice your heartbeat. Observe how the chest rises during the inhale, falls during the exhale. Let go of any judgments that may arise. The next out breath, shift your focus to your hands and fingertips. See if you can channel your breathing into and out of this area, as if you're breathing in and out of your hands. On the next out breath, shift your focus and bring your awareness up to your arms. You may notice some difference between the left and the right arm. No need to judge this. As you exhale, try to feel the arms soften and release any tension. Continue to breathe and now shift the focus to the neck, shoulder, throat region. This is where we often have tension. So really be with the sensations here. It could be tightness, rigidity, holding. You may notice your shoulders moving along with the breath. Let go of any thoughts or stories you are telling about this area. As you breathe out, feel the tension rolling off your shoulders. On the next out breath, we will shift our focus and direct our attention to the scalp, head, face. Notice the movement of air as you breathe into and out of the nostrils or mouth. Now let your attention expand out to include the entire body as a whole. Bring your awareness to the top of your head down to the bottom of your toes. Feel the gentle rhythm of the breath as it moves through the body. As we come to the end of this practice, take a deep, full breath in, taking in all the energy of this practice. Exhale fully. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and return your attention to the present moment. As you become fully alert and awake, consider setting the intention that this practice of building awareness will benefit everyone you come into contact with today, tomorrow, and beyond. Great work. All right, I'm sure you're all feeling very relaxed now. Nice. Okay. So we will get into Dr. Sarno's 12 daily reminders now, all of which helped me immensely in my recovery from sciatica. Okay, so we'll get right into it. Number 1, the pain is due to TMS, not a structural abnormality. So what can we do? We can shift our mindset from believing the pain is caused by an injury. Okay, and we can reinforce this through daily affirmations. I don't know if you do them. They sometimes feel silly, but I think making an affirmation that's very specific, very personal to you, just makes it more meaningful, right? So take some time to really think about what it is you need to remind yourself of, and it will help you kind of shift this belief. Number 2, the direct cause is mild oxygen deprivation. So it's important to remember this, not tissue damage. So what can we do is practice deep breathing, just as we did at that body scan meditation. All right, throughout your day, maybe when you're feeling a little more anxious or stressed, when you're feeling pain, practice deep breathing. Number 3, TMS is a harmless condition. While the pain is very real, it is not dangerous, so it's important that we don't fear this pain because we know that is coming from our repressed emotions. The principal emotion is repressed anger. Your subconscious mind generates pain to distract from this unresolved anger or resentment. So again, keeping a journal, expressing your thoughts and emotions out loud or on the paper really helps you process these things. TMS only exists to distract you from the emotions, so these things kind of go hand in hand. But we need to focus on shifting to emotional awareness, right? If we focus on emotional awareness, the pain will lose its power. So when we are in pain, we can ask ourselves, what am I feeling emotionally? We can do that body scan meditation and again, confront those emotions without any judgment. Number 6, since it is psychological, there is nothing physically wrong. Okay, so the body is not broken or weak. Remind yourself of your body's strength. When I was in the midst of this pain cycle, Loy, I know she didn't come up with this, but I think of her every time I tell this to myself, but this too shall pass. All right, it's very short, very almost cliche, but it was very powerful, especially in the time. It's very important to remember. Number 7, eliminate all physical explanations. Stop thinking of yourself as injured. Okay, we will avoid reinforcing the idea that the body is damaged. And we'll focus instead on repressed emotions, not the physical symptoms. Monitoring physical pain can keep it alive, and focusing on processing these repressed emotions can help it fade. Okay, again, with that pain journal, right? That correlation, just remember that. Number 9, do not be afraid of the pain, for it cannot harm you. Again, fear reinforces that pain cycle. When the pain spikes, say, I know what this is, and I am not afraid. Again, daily affirmations. Stop all physical treatments unless needed for other conditions. Okay, so if you feel that their pain is due to TMS, due to that tension, myoneural syndrome, we will stop all physical treatments as they reinforce the idea that pain is physical. All right, I got 5 epidural injections, none of which helped until I was able to process some of these repressed emotions, until I learned about Dr. Sarno's ideas. Acknowledge your personality traits, the perfectionism, people-pleasing, as contributors to TMS. Right? Again, these traits fuel emotional suppression or repression. And lastly, you're already cured. The only thing keeping the pain alive is fear and attention to it. Your body is strong. Healing happens when you stop fearing the pain. So we can visualize ourselves moving freely to live as we are already healed. We continue our physical activity. So let's talk about overcoming pain through shifting the mind. Healing from TMS is about belief and emotional awareness. Rewiring the brain takes consistent practice. Okay, so we'll just trust the process. Consistency is key. So what's next? Okay? I implore you, if you feel like TMS is something that you are struggling with, try journaling, keeping that pain journal. Keeping track of how much pain you are feeling each day can really provide some important data. All right, we can start to recognize the emotion pain patterns to reduce pain. We can do our body scan meditation, just as we did earlier. Continuing to keep an open mind and remember to also address your emotions when you feel pain. Very important, keep moving. As long as you're able to do so, you should not fear the pain, so keep moving. And by understanding this mind-body connection and managing our stress, we can take back control, not just over our pain, but over our lives. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to now open the floor to any questions or maybe even personal stories, your backstory. Yes.
So I think the key is to distinguish between the pain from TMS and the pain which is not from TMS. You fall, you break your hip, the bone is broken.
Yes.
This is not, I think that's real physical damage to your body.
Yes,
So are there
correct.
criteria that would say, oh, based on the profile of the pain, that's more likely to be TMS or this one more likely not to be TMS?
Yeah, so just to repeat your question, you're asking for the criteria to distinguish between pain felt from TMS or pain felt from another structural abnormality or trauma. And so I think that for me, at least, the TMS was just another self-assessment tool that I was using to check in with my emotions when I was feeling pain. Just because that first time I experienced a sciatica pain, nothing was helping me, no matter how many doctors I saw. I almost got surgery. Luckily, I decided not to get it and just try to tough it out. But it wasn't until I started to confront and recognize these emotions that the pain started to fade away. So while, again, it's not to substitute any professional medical diagnosis, and more so a tool to kind of remind yourself to check in with the emotions when you are feeling your chronic pain. Yes.
Would you say, in conjunction with that, there's a difference between the acute and the chronic component?
So you're sorry. I'm gonna repeat your question for the recording. Yeah.
If something's more acute,
Mm-hmm.
not TMS, maybe something that's more chronic, maybe the chances are higher that it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty fair to assume. But I will say, just because TMS can manifest itself in so many different ways, it's kind of hard to have a criteria or to be able to, say plainly that this is TMS versus anything else. And again, it's just more so, at least in my case, being used as a self-assessment tool. All the doctors that I saw didn't really talk to me about stress. They just asked me, like, how are your stress levels? And I said, they're okay. But, other than that, there's no, talk or anything about how that was affecting my pain. So it's kind of hard to categorize the two that way. Yes.
Can I add just a thought?
Yes, please.
Saying that some people that have chronic pain can have acute episodes,
Mm-hmm.
acute feelings of pain on a daily basis, and it's still kind of part of a chronic pain complex. And
Mm-hmm.
so it can be like your journal that you were talking about and your pain scale. Looking at something and then kind of letting go of it is sometimes really helpful for people that have chronic pain that feel like they have acute episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Of,
Yeah,
to use
like
the word,
flare-ups.
that it can be the same, I guess, in my experience as a physical therapist. It isn't necessarily, it can happen quickly, but it can still be a component of chronic pain. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
no, thank you. I think that explains it clearly. Yes.
Yeah, hi, Mike Zimmerman. Thank you. That was wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much,
Shared
Mr.
your
Zimmerman.
Personal story.
Thank you. Yes.
That's very great. I'm a believer. My daughter was cured of long COVID using this.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, some people know her, and she's writing a book about it. So
Amazing.
shameless promotion.
And this
She
is,
should speak.
yeah.
She wouldn't speak better than Rex.
Oh, no, thank you.
But you might be interested. Shameless. Sarno's dad. I think he passed in 2016.
Yes.
She interviewed his daughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Who practiced as a psychologist under a different name because she was trying not to live in her father's shadow. But then she
Mhm.
realized how powerful it was, and now she goes by her maiden name,
Wow.
and she's following his. So anyway, thank you.
Very
This
cool.
was really wonderful, and I believe you're onto something that is going to make a huge difference to many people.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Zimmerman. I appreciate that. Any other questions or stories? Yes. Oh, sorry. Behind you, real quick.
Hi. It's kind of serendipity that we came to this tonight because it was just recommended for our daughter today. She's been seeing someone who does neuromuscular massage because she's had
Mm-hmm.
problems with her jaw, which seems to be causing all sorts of systemic problems, but including like her breathing and stuff. And the masseuse referred me to, what do you call it? You said it's a neuro,
Tension myoneural syndrome or
right?
TMS?
Neurontic or
Autonomic nervous system?
sorry.
Yes.
Yes, autonomic. And she said that there are doctors now, neurologists who specialize
Mm.
in this. Did you ever see any of those people?
No, I did get recommended a neuromuscular massage. So I did try that.
Yeah.
I only did it once, but no, I didn't. I didn't see a doctor who specialized in the autonomic nervous system. So
I just wondered
yeah.
if you had any idea if they're like,
There's one in Chicago, but I think he does maybe the back. I'll get his name. I'll text my daughter. She knows the name in Chicago.
oh, thank you so much. Well, I got the name of the doctor at North Shore who does it, but I just didn't know if that was like barking up the wrong tree because you're going back to the medicine as opposed to like
Mm.
the steps you described.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't have much experience or done any research on that specific type of medicine and how it would relate to the topics discussed today. But if it has anything to do with the autonomic system, I definitely can see that how there would be a correlation to the concepts and philosophies that we discussed.
But none of this would hurt anybody, whether you're feeling pain or not. I mean, these are all good things to do regardless, right? And
Mhm.
maybe it's preventative for some of us who don't have.
Yes.
Probably
She had one question.
my only was mine is correlated with theirs, but yeah, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna ask, how do you know, like, if it is something that is physical, that you should continue to see the medical versus doing meditation?
I mean, during that period where I was managing the symptoms of the pain, but also trying to deal with the emotions, I was pretty much doing both. I was taking my prescribed pain medication. I was still doing my physical therapy exercises, which I still do, just to prevent any further incidents. But I kind of did both in conjunction together. But I also wasn't able to break that cycle so I was taking extra strength Tylenol, so like 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol every 6 hours around the clock. And I think I was also averaging around 6 hours of sleep at that time. So it was just a year and a half of Tylenol. So as soon as I was able to kind of confront those emotions, keep that pain journal, I didn't fear the pain any longer, and I was able to taper off slowly the medication and only take it as needed. And then eventually I didn't feel like I needed to take it anymore. And I'm currently not taking any medication, thankfully. But yes, I think especially when you get those acute attacks or flare-ups, you kind of need to treat both the pain symptoms and the emotions. But it's important to keep that TMS in mind so that we don't get trapped in that pain cycle. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, we have a senior, right? So he's a teenager too. And I think sometimes, again, for us, it's our first senior going through, this whole college business and stuff. And I don't think even we as parents appreciate the kind of pressure
Mm.
they probably present to themselves. So that's a weird sort of a stress, and I think
Mm-hmm.
additionally our read of him is that he's a people pleaser too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you, well, what we noticed with him was he suddenly developed these lymph nodes, right,
Mm.
that had gotten exaggerated all over his neck and stuff. And frankly, we went through multiple biopsies, MRIs, and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and everything was non-conclusive. And at a point, you're like, okay, nothing is making sense. Now they are suggesting a big surgery, which frankly we're not even buying into,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't see what's wrong with him.
Yeah, oh
And
no.
so all this is helping me realize that, which Dare had mentioned from the very beginning, that stress could be so deep into them that
Mm-hmm.
they also can't figure it out. So sometimes it may not be pain, is what I'm saying, that's coming out of this thing. Sometimes it can be other manifestations.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I mean, alternative medicine wise, we just went to a lymphatic massage place, for his situation. I know I've done acupuncture for TMJ, so I'm just saying that really being open-minded
Mm-hmm.
and not quickly going the route of any surgery for sure.
Yeah.
Is just something that, and we really want to figure out how to coach our children. Like, I wish Arun was listening to this, by the way, right?
Yeah.
I think he would also learn as a child
Mm-hmm.
how to process emotions
Yes.
and not let that bring calmness. So,
Yes. Thank you.
Somebody wakes up at home with a pain in the shoulder or the neck. I'm like, just breathe into that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Mama, just stay away.
What are you talking about?
You can edit it out, but I do think that we have a video of this, so
yeah.
cut up right up until you come.
So thank you for sharing.
So you mentioned it's anger-based, right? At some point in the presentation.
Yes,
Anger.
that was one of the principal emotions that people with TMS suffer from.
Boxing or kickboxing or something where you really punch.
Uh-huh.
No, seriously.
Um, I've done it before in the past.
Like karate or something like that.
I usually just work out very hard, but maybe that's contributing to this pain. But no, I've actually never tried.
Because that's a great outlet.
Oh yes, I'm sure.
Punch, right?
Yes. No, I agree.
A
Yes,
very
thank you.
interesting question that was asked before.
Yeah.
You had a herniated disc.
Mm-hmm.
You could see it in an MRI.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor was ready to do a laminectomy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't think that would have worked? I mean, when did you leave that path and move on to the Dr. Salerno path?
As soon as Hillary brought it up to me, honestly, I just looked it up because I was at a point where that was the next option. I tried everything. And I was honestly just afraid of getting surgery, to be honest. And I didn't want, a friend of mine got the same surgery, had the same injury, and she's completely fine. She was really suggesting and recommending the surgery, but I don't know, I was just too afraid. And luckily, it worked. It helped me. I was able to taper off the medication. I was able to feel more moments of no pain versus feeling in pain, which is a big deal. So yes, I think it was just all kind of perfect timing because I would have gotten the surgery.
Did you do some kind of meditation that you tell yourself, I'm going to block this pain? If you did, can you tell us how to do that?
So I think I do more of that kind of affirmations in my journaling. So I write the same things down every day. And I'll share a couple of them where I'll say, I'm strong, I'm disciplined, I have everything that I need within, I trust myself. I don't have any specific pain ones anymore because I'm no longer feeling that pain, but these things I feel, again, can rewire the brain into not fearing the pain and to be more confident to be able to move and believe in yourself and trust your body. So I would say the daily affirmations really helped me with that. The meditations that I would do were very similar to the one we did together earlier, because I would always feel the pain here and radiate down. So when we were doing that body scan, I would always highlight that area in my mind and try to really breathe into it, like you mentioned, Dev, and just really sit with it without any judgment, without any emotions, and just sit with that pain, just being present with the pain. And over time, I think that helped with alleviating the pain, kind of alleviating the tension and oxygen deprivation that was happening.
I have a couple of things.
Yes.
So I think somebody mentioned that there's a diaphragm or some kind of layer between our lungs and our something. And I think when you breathe into that, or you breathe into, when you do yoga, for instance, when you turn in a certain way and you breathe in
Mm-hmm.
very deeply, you can actually feel the change happening. You can feel the clicking of your backbone and stuff like that because of that breathing. So we just don't breathe well enough, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you're trying to say is maybe we need to think about that more consciously and
Yes.
breathe more. And I go back to an injury when we got married. It was 2001. I had 2 discs in my lower back, herniated, just like
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about this.
Yep.
And it took me 13 years of these constant sciatica pains and limping, with children,
Mm.
children and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But I think physiotherapy, really helped.
Yep.
And just physical activity and being focused on this and
Mm-hmm.
dealing with the pain. Well, of course, I didn't use breathing techniques like you were mentioning, but it has all gone away. I haven't needed surgery.
That's great.
And my tailbone had tilted to one side. It's come back.
Wow.
So it's just
Amazing.
a half marathon now.
I was at a different seminar on Sunday where we were just talking about dementia. And in it, there was a doctor. There was a doctor there who, he says that if more of us would 5 times a day take 5 really deep breaths, 5 times a day, it could be a stoplight or whatever you're doing, that's something that can prevent diseases, so that we don't think about breathing enough.
Mm-hmm.
We take it for granted. So that came from a doctor, which I just wanted to add on to what you were saying.
Thank you.
That's worth it.
Any other questions or anecdotes? Well, I just want to thank you all again for taking the time out of your evening to be here with me tonight. I know it's very cold outside, so hopefully you all bundle up and have a nice rest of your evening. I hope to see you all in the fitness center or the pool. I'm sure I will very soon. And thank you again. Really appreciate it.